Welcome back to Hit Song Histories. This is episode 2, and today we're talking about a song that feels especially appropriate because as I record this, I've officially hit the big 55. That's right, 55 years old. So what better way to celebrate the occasion than talk about Sammy Hagar's signature anthem, I Can't Drive 55. Now, if you're a rock fan of a certain age, chances are the song is already playing in your head. You could probably see the red Ferrari, hear that opening guitar riff, picture Sammy grinning like a man who just got away with something. Just one of those songs that became bigger than the album it came from, bigger than the era that produced it, and in many ways bigger than the man who wrote it. But where did the song come from? What is Sammy really singing about? And how did a complaint about speed limits become one of the defining rock anthems of the 1980s? Let's find out. To understand I Can't Drive 55, we have to go back to the early 1980s. Sammy Hagar was already a respected rock singer. He had spent time with Montrose and had built a successful solo career with songs like There's Only One Way to Rock and Your Love Is Driving Me Crazy. The problem was that Sammy still hadn't found that one career-defining hit. He was respected by rock fans, but he wasn't a household name yet. Then inspiration struck in a very unexpected way. According to Sammy, he was driving his Ferrari one day and got pulled over by a police officer. The officer asked him if he knew how fast he was going. Sammy supposedly looked down at the speedometer and realized he had no idea because driving 55 miles per hour felt completely unnatural in a high-performance sports car. You have to remember the context. Back in 1974, the United States government established a national maximum speed limit of 55 miles per hour. The idea was to conserve fuel during the energy crisis. By the 1980s, many drivers absolutely hated it. Now, for those of you outside the United States who grew up using the metric system, 55 miles per hour is about 88 kilometers per hour. That might not sound particularly slow today, but in the 1980s, many Americans felt it was frustratingly restrictive, especially on long stretches of open highway. For drivers of powerful sports cars and muscle cars, cruising at just 88 kilometers per hour or 55 miles per hour often felt like they were barely getting started. Sammy wasn't making a political statement. He wasn't launching a campaign. He was simply expressing the frustration that many drivers felt every time they hit the highway. Out of frustration came a simple phrase, I can't drive 55, and sometimes the simplest ideas become the biggest songs. Released in 1984 on the album VOA, I Can't Drive 55 immediately stood out. The song exploded with energy from the opening riff. It was loud, fast, and rebellious, and fun. Musically, it captured everything that made 1980s hard rock so appealing. The guitars were big and aggressive. The rhythm section drove the song like a race car engine, and Sammy's vocal performance was pure confidence. What made the song work wasn't just the speed limit theme, it was the feeling behind it. At its core, I Can't Drive 55 is about resisting restrictions. It's about the part of human nature that wants freedom, excitement, and the ability to drive at full throttle. Most listeners weren't thinking about highway regulations when they sang along. They were connecting with the attitude. The song became an anthem for anyone who felt constrained by rules, expectations, or limitations. Let's be honest, rock and roll has always been built on that kind of spirit. One of the biggest reasons the song became so popular was its unforgettable music video. If you grew up watching MTV in the 1980s, chances are you've seen it dozens of times. The video perfectly matched the song's personality. Sammy is shown driving, racing, and genuinely causing chaos while being pursued by law enforcement. It's playful, exaggerated, full of humor. Instead of presenting himself as some dangerous outlaw, Sammy comes across a guy like having the time of his life. That's an important distinction. The video never feels mean-spirited. It feels mischievous. It's the difference between rebellion and fun. The bright colors, fast editing, and larger-than-life visuals make it ideal for MTV, which was becoming one of the most powerful forces in music promotion at the time. The video received heavy rotation and helped introduce Sammy Hagar to millions of viewers who might not have heard his previous work. In many ways, MTV helped transform I Can't Drive 55 from a rock hit into a cultural phenomenon. Commercially, the song was exactly what Sammy needed. While it didn't become a #1 pop hit, it became one of the biggest rock songs of 1984. The single reached the Billboard Hot 100 and received significant airplay on both rock and mainstream radio stations. More importantly, it gave Sammy something every artist wants, but very few achieve. He finally got that signature song. So think of Born to Run for Bruce Springsteen, think Living on a Prayer for Bon Jovi, think Paranoid for Black Sabbath. For Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive 55 became that song. No matter what else he accomplished in his career, and he accomplished plenty, this was a song audiences expected to hear every night. The success of VOA elevated Sammy's profile significantly and helped set the stage for even bigger things. And of course, just a couple years later, he would join Van Halen. That's a story for another video. But what's fascinating is how the song's legacy continued long after the original speed limit controversy faded away. The national 55 mile per hour eventually disappeared. States began adopting higher speed limits, and the issue that inspired the song became less relevant, but the song never went away. That's because great songs often outlive the circumstances that created them. Today, younger listeners might not even know why 55 miles an hour was controversial, yet they still understand the feeling the song communicates. Freedom, speed, independence, rebellion, those things never get old. Over the years, I Can't Drive 55 became deeply embedded in popular culture. It has appeared in television shows, movies, commercials, sporting events, and countless compilations celebrating 1980s rock. Whenever someone wants to evoke the spirit of fast cars and classic rock, the song is usually somewhere nearby. It also became a permanent part of Sammy's public identity. Even people who couldn't name another Sammy Hagar sound often knew I Can't Drive 55. In fact, the phrase itself entered everyday language. How many songs can claim that? People who have never owned the Sammy Hagar album have quoted the title. That's when you know a song has crossed over from being a hit record to becoming part of the culture. As the years went on, Sammy embraced the song rather than running from it. Some artists get tired of the biggest hits. Sammy always seemed to understand what the song meant to fans. Every time he performs it, audiences react as if they're hearing it for the first time. The energy is still there, the grin is still there, and the crowd sings every word. That's the mark of a genuine rock anthem. Now, as someone turning 55 myself, I have to admit there's something funny about celebrating this birthday with a song called I Can't Drive 55. When I was younger, 55 sounded old. Now it just feels like a speed limit I just flew past. The reality is that rock fans don't really measure life the same way everyone else does. We measure it by albums, by concerts, by songs, and by memories. And I Can't Drive 55 has been providing those memories for more than 4 decades. It's one of those songs that instantly transports you back to a particular feeling. When you were driving with the windows down, you turned the radio up, you saw the road stretching out in front of you. There was no destination that matters more than the journey. So that's powerful stuff. So as we wrap up this episode of Hit Song Histories, let's raise a glass to Sammy Hagar, one of the great driving songs in rock history. And yes, to turning 55. The song began as a complaint about a speed limit. It became a rock anthem. It helped define a career. And more than 40 years later, it still reminds us why we fell in love with rock and roll in the first place. Because sometimes life isn't about slowing down. Sometimes it's about turning up the volume, hitting the gas, and enjoying the ride. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode of Hit Song Histories, be sure to hit like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what hit songs you'd like to be featured next. And until next time, keep on rocking and try not to drive 55.